From the Oklahoman newsroom, this is an OU update. I'm Jenny Carlson here in studio with Abby Bitterman, OU beat writer. Abby, Saturday's game at K-State, lots to talk about afterwards, but clearly one thing that had all Sooner fans a Twitter was the onside kick. What was called, what wasn't called. Lots of questions even after a pool reporter went and talked to Reggie Smith, the lead referee of the crew. But Greg Burkes, the director of officials for the Big 12, talked on Monday, and the big point of conversation was Trajan Bridges forced into touching the ball? What did Greg Burkes have to say about this whole thing?
Well, Greg Burkes said that whether or not Trajan Bridges was pushed into the ball, really, it does matter, but it's not reviewable. Mm-hmm. So what they can look at after when reviewing an onside kick is the timing of the block by the kicking team and whether or not the kicking team touched the ball, which is ultimately what they looked for. And they found that Bridges touched the ball at the 44-yard line, so that was at 9 yards from the kick, and the ball needs to go at least 10 yards. But according to the rules as they stand now, they're not allowed to look at whether or not he was blocked into the ball by the receiving team. Yeah. So the ball went to Kansas State.
Yeah. And it sounds like Burkes was asked when he talked about all this, did he think forced touching happened? He said he didn't think so, right?
No, he said that he didn't think that it happened anyway. Mm-hmm. He also said that kind of confusingly that the call on the field was that there was no illegal touching by Oklahoma, and he kind of tried to explain that if there was no illegal touching, why would they look at if there was forced touching? But then he said that they couldn't look at it anyway. So this whole thing has been kind of an increasingly confusing mess.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, it sounds like what he's saying is, as the lead official, as the head of the officials, he feels like what happened was right. And yes. He was part of the conversation on Saturday, right?
Yes, he said that it was kind of an all-hands-on-deck situation. There was a replay official at the field, a replay official in Dallas at the official center. Yeah. He was there, and then obviously Reggie Smith was watching it on the field as well, which actually is a change this year. But all these people looking at it together, all these eyes on it. And he also said that they did see a definitive angle where you could see Bridges touching the ball, which is something that we were talking about on the field when we were watching the replay, is that there was no angle they were showing us in the stadium where he was touching the ball. But they said that they had it, and they wouldn't have made the call if they didn't have that angle.
Well, and one thing that I thought was interesting after the game and all the conversation, Lincoln Riley, other players, I think it was Lincoln that said that Trajan Bridges did touch it, which,
mm-hmm.
you know.
He did say that, yes.
Yeah, which I wasn't sure myself as we were watching it, but it's interesting that with all this instant replay and review and all of that, that there are certain things they can review and certain things they can't. Did Greg Burkes talk at all about whether that might change, that maybe they could look at, was it forced touching?
He said that that he talked to Lincoln Riley and explained all of this to him, and that Riley kind of expressed to him that he thought that forced touching is something that should be reviewable. Mm-hmm. And Burkes brought up the fact that changes to what is and isn't reviewable and just all the rules in general can be looked at and are looked at during the off season. So I feel like this is definitely going to be something that the Big 12 is going to be talking about in its off season this year.
So next year at Big 12 Media Day, we'll be getting the official word that that's been changed.
Yes,
probably. Okay.
And another thing that they're looking to change is the official after the game just basically, he kept quoting the rule because Burkes said that that's all they're allowed. That's all their policy allows right now, and he said that they're currently looking at their policy on officials talking to reporters.
And what they can clarify.
Yes.
Because there were a lot of questions, I think, after they clarified what the heck they clarified.
Yes.
So lots of fixes that might come out of this, but one thing that's not changing, Oklahoma didn't get the ball, didn't beat K-State. We'll be following the ramifications of all that, obviously, in the coming weeks as Oklahoma gets back on the field after the bye week this week. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at Oklahoman.com and every day in the Oklahoman.